Your highs, your lows, your loves, your losses. This is your Soul Care Companion podcast, hosted by Marcus and Marion. Your Soul Care Companion podcast, the place where faith, passion, and determination create the greatest stories ever told.
Welcome back to Your Soul Care Companion podcast. My name is Marion Jamel, and this is part 2 of the interview with Pastor C. Montez Jones that Marcus and I did. But before we get into the details of that interview, did you do your homework? That's my question to you. Remember, part 1, at the end, I challenged you to do your homework. Now, we have received some amazing feedback, and I appreciate all of you who have took the time and have been courageous enough to share with us what your inner beast looks like. You have no idea how healing this is going to be to you. So now you have the opportunity to listen as Pastor Jones talks about his recovery. I want you to get a pen, get a piece of paper, or use your phones like most people do. I want you to be taking some notes because this is very important. You've identified your beast. Now let's talk about recovery. You guys are going to enjoy this.
From the beginning, I think we made the right decision, but I think we made it at the wrong time. Asia was married when she was 20. I was 25. Both of us were immature on different levels. I'm immature because I'm just out here doing whatever I want to do, thinking it's okay. Asia's immaturity was she wasn't as experienced. I mean, she left her father's house, moved directly into our home, no dorm life in between, no life on her own. So she was very inexperienced as far as marriage is concerned. I'm very inexperienced and immature. And so when it comes to marriage, we just jump into it. We had no blueprint, and we made a lot of mistakes trying to figure out how to be married. In doing that, there was it left room for emotional detachment. So in learning each other, growing together, we kind of grew apart, if that makes sense. And so there was a period where there was no emotional attachment. We were just like roommates. But we were determined to make our marriage work because that's how much we loved each other. We were not in love for a period. We were not friends for a period. But we have always been committed to each other. We have always been committed to building each other, and whatever each other wanted to do, we were committed to making it work for each other. Around year 5, after this first incident, we became who we were supposed to be.
Hold on, and I'm going to stop right there because you have said enough already. A lot of people can't get through that. We were not in love. We were not friends. What else? We were like roommates.
We were basically roommates.
That's like stop, divorce. All right, I'm out.
Right.
We young.
Right.
We don't have to do this. We don't got no kids.
That's right. We
don't have no other attachments except for, a marriage license.
And she does not like church. So my world, I'm sure she's
the preacher's daughter.
She's a PK that does not like church because of church experience, what church has become, what church represents. And so she's made church her world because church is my world. But this, it would seem like, would be an open door for her to say, to hell with this, I'm out,
Right.
And she stayed.
Wow. I had to stop right there because that's
I'm glad you paused because everybody thinks that relationships are just beautiful all the time and in love and like lots of love making and passion, and that's totally not the case.
Yeah, people be having these relationship goals based off of what they see.
That's right.
Not what they know.
That's right.
Because if they really knew, they snatch that hashtag back. Because that can't be your goal if you're not willing to go through the same process.
So, okay, so yeah, this is good. Like, this is a lot. And let me make this disclaimer real quickly. We brought C. Montez on because we wanted him to share his narrative, not because we want to be messy or we want to be petty, but there's something for everybody to take away from this story of triumph. I want to ask the question, especially for the men listening, because you mentioned the beast. How do you keep the beast caged? How did you develop discipline? Who are you today?
Yeah, so when you learned priorities and what is really important, and whatever you feed grows, whatever you starve dies. So you have to get to a maturity in your life and in your relationships wherein you're not just pulled away from what you've been eating. You have to be pulled away from the restaurant that serves what you're eating. You got to be removed from the environment that provokes the activity as well as the activity. I preach all the time. It's just like if I'm an alcoholic and I want to be delivered from alcoholism, I have to quit my job as a bartender. I cannot continue to invest or surround myself with the environment or the conversations or the interactions that would cause that beast in me to raise up. I had to force myself to disconnect from certain relationships. Certain memories had to be cut off, and another part of it is you have to be so desperate to rediscover who you are at different stages of your life.
Oh, that's good.
Because the other piece of this that will probably make more sense to your listeners is when Asia and I first started quote unquote dating, she was 15. I was 20. So there's always been a 5-year age gap. Now, I wasn't Chester. I went to her dad and I went to her mom and I told them, and from 15 to 16, I also, we talked or we courted, old people stuff. We dated. Then we broke up. Asia, for 3 years after that, dated someone else, which that's another piece of the puzzle that we'll get to in a moment. Asia dated someone else. Then they broke up, had a very, very bad breakup. Asia returned to what was comfortable for her, which was me. When we got back together, we were looking for the love that we left. But experience, time, and age had made us two different people. So the Asia and the Courtney that are together now are not the same two that were together before. And to try to define our relationship on the love and the interest and the understanding of who we were then is what really made it so hard for us to learn and understand each other for who we had become. Then when we got married, I mean, who you are at 18, you're not the same person at 21. And then you're not the same person at 25. And then you're not the same person at 30. And unless you allow yourself to keep redefining yourself for who you become, you're stuck. And then when one person, one partner, one spouse grows and the other person doesn't, then the relationship is off balance because I've come into a new definition of who I am, which changes automatically the definition of what the relationship is. And you refuse to grow. You refuse to come up. And then that's how we ended up emotionally out of balance and emotionally disconnected. But once we finally sat down, was forced to sit down because of my beast, we were then able to put everything on the table and to come up with a new definition of who we had become, where the relationship is, and that's how we started to find each other where we were at that point, to find love for each other, to find friendship for each other, and to find a new sense of commitment to who we were, because we can't be committed to who we were at the beginning because we're not. That's not here anymore. So we have to find a new commitment, and commitment is the key to all relationships. Above love, commitment is the key, because love continuously evolves and goes out of the window, but commitment is the glue that will keep you together until you can rediscover and redefine what love has become.
You didn't think you was gonna say all of that, did you?
So y'all really had to get to know each other again and almost start over.
Listen, we didn't know each other, period. I will tell everybody that. We did not know each other until we were 4 years, almost 5 years into marriage. We didn't know each other. We started our relationship physical, right? We weren't sexual, but we were physical. So, like a house, that's just like having the front door in the bedroom. There was no in between. There was no time to really learn each other in different rooms. We went directly from the porch and so we didn't know each other.
So let's get back to rehab.
Okay.
You and Asia were able to come to the table and start to rebuild. What has it been like for the church as in terms of rebuilding?
Before we get to that, what was the conversation like when you told Asia that you even wanted to rebuild?
So, Asia's, though we have changed and our relationship has changed, her outlook on church has remained consistent. And I have to say this and I hope, I'm being very careful with my words because this is my story and I hate to bring other people into my narrative. Mm-hmm. But hopefully you can hear what I'm saying without me having to say it. Her examples weren't as solid in church, in marriage, in life. Her cultural blueprint wasn't as strong. So when it was that we're taking on such a strong mantle of responsibility, I think she retreated from it because of what she was living, our experience through the eyes and the lenses of what she watched her parents endure. So before we get to the conversation of restarting the church, the other piece that I was going to tell you is infidelity. I find out in 2016, November of 2016, going into January of 2017, was bipartisan in our relationship. Did not know it until it was told to me, but it makes a lot of sense. So Asia and I were separated. We would go to church on Wednesdays and Sundays. We would have good church, be the picture of family, and we would go to two separate houses. That was 2014 to 2015 going into, So around the time that this first incident happened, we weren't even in the same house. And this is not an excuse, it's an explanation. A man who is unsure of what's going on in his marriage but still has urges and desires and needs can only flirt with temptation for so long until the beast overtakes the man.
You're listening to your Soul Care Companion podcast with Marcus and Marion. Join the conversation and follow right now at your Soul Care Community on Instagram and on Facebook for updates on upcoming events and a regular dose of wisdom, insight, and companion connections.
So when this first thing happened with this girl in 2014, there was no system of accountability around me. in addition to no system, no friends is what I mean, to say, hey, you shouldn't do that. Or, ain't you still married? What about the church? What is your grandma going to say? I didn't have that. No accountability.
No accountability.
All I had is people in my ear that